Hello and welcome back. In this video, we want to create a method that we can use to return similar looking documents to a particular gig or to a particular document based on the ID. So for example, if the user clicks on the front end, if the user clicks to view the complete information for a particular gig, then at the bottom of the screen, we want to add other gigs that are similar to that particular gig. Okay. And Elasticsearch has some operators that we can use. So for example, if the user is currently viewing this gig with the ID, with this particular ID, so we want to use Elasticsearch more like this operator to help us return gigs based on the ID that looks similar. Okay. So we can have maybe 3 or 4 gigs that look similar to a particular gig that a user is viewing. And then we will use the more like this operator to return those gigs. Okay. So before we just test it out here, let's go to the browser. I will search for Elasticsearch more like this. Okay. You can search for it. And then the first option you have right here, you can click on it. Okay. So Elasticsearch has a lot of operators, okay, so or queries that you can use. So one such is this more like this query, okay. So it says the more like this query finds documents that are like a given set of documents, okay. So it returns documents that are like a given set of documents. In our case, it will find gigs that are like a given set of gigs or a particular gig based on the properties we are going to pass. And for this, we are going to use the gig ID. Okay. So the more like this selects a set of representative terms of this input document. It forms a query using these terms and then execute and returns the result. You can add multiple properties, but the one we want to implement, it looks like this. We are going to have our query. Then we have the more like this operator. Okay. We set our fields, so the fields that we want it to search, and then we use the like operator. Okay, so in the like operator, which is an array, we can specify objects with the index we want to search and the IDs that we want it to check if they are similar. Okay, so in this case here, it's going to check the IMDb index, and then it will check for documents that looks like the document with ID 1. It's also going to check documents in the IMDb index that looks like the document with index 2. Okay, and then you can have this frequency, minimum frequency, maximum frequency. We are not going to use that. So what we need to do is right here, you can click on this view in console. Okay, so I'll copy it and then move it here so that we have it all in one place. Okay, I was going to open. Okay, so it's going to open the query. Yeah, so this is more like this. I'll copy this. I can close this one and then go back here. Let me see if I can just, yeah. So down here, I'll paste. Now, we need to make our changes. Our search. Okay, so we want to perform the search on the gigs, index. Okay. And then we perform a search. The query operator, inside the query operator, we are using this more like this operator. So this is what we want to use. And now what are the fields that we want to check? I'll copy this fields property. So paste it right here. I think I will have to probably, let me just format it here. So okay, so these are the fields that we want to check. We want to use the more like this operator. Remove these 2 operators from here. We don't need them. And remove this one as well. Okay, now in the like, let me just minimize this. Yeah, inside this like operator, which is an array that accepts an object, we need to specify the index. And what index do we want to search? Still, we need to search in the gigs index. And now, what property with ID we want to use? Let's say, for example, we want to use this ID. Okay, so I will just paste it right here. And then let's see if it's going to return documents that looks like this document here. Okay, so I'll click and let's see. Oh, it returned nine documents. Okay, and it has this score. Okay, yeah, we can minimize this. If you check, there are different documents. Okay, probably they look more almost the same based on maybe some internal criteria that are used, okay, by Elasticsearch. Maybe it checked these particular fields, okay, and then checked for similar terms, okay, and then returned all those documents. So it's using the document with this ID as the reference, okay. So the document with this ID is used as the reference, and then it will check the username field, title, description, basic description, and the other fields, and then look for terms that are similar to what exists in the same fields for this particular document. Okay, so it returns the more like this right here. Let me run the main command again. Let me try with another ID. Let me try this. Okay, and let's see the results. Okay, so it returns 0. There are no similar document that matches this particular ID. Okay, so it returns 0, and we can try with something else. Let me try this. Yeah, so for this as well, it's 0. Okay, so it means that there are no matches, there are no document that looks more like this. Okay, so this is just what we need to do. This is the query that we need, okay, to create this more like this function or use the more like this operator. Now let's go back to our code. Here I will minimize this, and then here I'll create the function. I'll say get more gigs like this. Okay, async, and then gig ID of type string. Now on the front end, this function will be called when a user clicks to view the information for a particular gig. Okay, then we make this request. Okay, it's going to return promise, okay, of type I search result. Okay, right here. And to mention, I just converted my own functions all to arrow functions right here. Okay, now let us create the search or use the search method. Search, this will be search response equal to await Elasticsearch client dot search, and inside the search method, now we pass the index. The index is going to be gigs. That is the name of our index. The size, I will hard code this. I want it to return only 5. Okay, so if it's more than 5, I want it to only return 5 documents. And now let us add our query. The query is going to look exactly like this. It's going to look exactly like this. So the query, and then we use more like this. Okay, and then we can use the same fields. Let me get the fields. We are using the same fields, so I'll copy everything here. Okay, so we use the same fields, and then the next we add the like operator, and then it's going to be an array, not an object. So an array, and then inside the array we add the object with index. The index is going to be the gigs, and then the ID that we want to use as a reference is going to be gig ID. Okay, this is just all we need to do with respect to this more like this operator. Okay, and then as usual, we can copy the same things we already have right here, copy them and then paste here. Okay, so with this, if the gig has some similar looking gigs, then based off of the fields that we have specified here, it's going to return it. Otherwise, it's going to return an empty array. So with this, we have our get more gigs like this function.